Bonjour everyone and welcome back to my channel, The Waves of Your Soul. Today's video is going to be my May 2022 favorites, so we're going to be discussing all of my favorite tarot decks, oracle decks, books, video games, TV shows that I enjoyed in the month of May. I do those videos every single month and I really love watching those kind of videos from fellow content creators. It's nice to see what people use, how they use it. It's nice to see kind of like a little glimpse into people's way of using the cards. So as per usual, I'm gonna put timestamps with categories in the description box below. If you just want to see me talk about the decks I've used, you can go straight to that, or if you want to watch the remaining of the videos, then you're very welcome to, of course, and I really appreciate people who watch everything. Thank you so much. So if it is your first time here, hello, my name is Marine. I'm a French tarot reader and a lover of everything tarot, oracle and self-empowerment related. On my channel, I like to talk about tarot and oracle decks because they're a huge passion of mine and they really help me on my life journey. And I also really enjoy sharing tarot readings, pick a card readings, all designed around helping you to help yourself. That's very much my vibe. So if you'd like to see any of those things on your timeline, make sure to hit the subscribe button, hit the bell, all of that good stuff that people say. It does really help my channel out. So without further ado, let's get into my May favorites. Okay, so I have a lot of things to talk about in the month of May. I don't really know where to start. I think we'll start with books, which I read on my Kindle, so I don't actually have it to show you, so I'm gonna insert a picture somewhere here. The book that I absolutely adored in the month of May is called Radically Content, and it is written by Jamie Varon. Varon, I'm not sure how you pronounce that. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing. Again, I'll put a picture somewhere somewhere there, but this is a non-fiction book written by Jamie. I actually really recommend you following on Instagram because she shares excerpts of her books as well as other things she's written, and it always, you know, when I encounter it, when I'm scrolling and I see her text, they always like make me feel seen and make my soul feel accepted, and it's just always like a nice respite in the scroll hole to see such empowering and healing content. So I highly suggest you following Jamie on Instagram, and I also highly suggest you to get this book if you enjoy self-development books, but not the kind that are gonna be all about manifest your life. A lot of those self-development books that I've read, they're all about thinking positive and feeling high vibe, and they kind of overlook the harder part of life, which is everything we have to deal with shadow work. There is one kind of like holistic psychology book that I really enjoyed last year, I think it was last year, end of last year, that I read from Nicole Pereira. That was amazing, but this one is like, for me, as good. This has been a revelation. I love this book so much that I actually am gonna order it on paper form because I want to reread it and highlight it and have it to read for when I'm feeling low. So this book, Radical Content, is really about Jamie explaining how she is trying to find a way to be content with life just as things are, and how this is the key to invite more joy and more gratitude and more happiness for the future. And being radically content where you are right now is actually a really challenging but empowering mission, because it means that you have to look at the ways where you have forbidden yourself to be happy with where you are right now. Because trust that a lot of us are not happy with how things are, whether it's in our personal life, whether it's in the way the world is, the, you know, fucked up things going on in the world, different communities suffering and all of that. It can feel a little bit impossible to be content with things as they are, and yet Jamie gives you the keys to explore the ways that by accepting certain things in your life and working on your self-worth and really enjoying you for who you are without conditions, without what ifs, without thinking I'll be happy when I've lost weight, I'll be happy when I'll be, you know, financially independent, I'll be happy when I'll be in a relationship, whatever, you guys fill in the blanks. She's teaching you to look at all the ways maybe you have shrunk yourself and forbidden yourself to be happy, and it's helping you to really realize how there is potential to be content with how you are right now. And it doesn't mean that it's going to stop you from wanting more. It doesn't mean that it's going to stop you from being ambitious. It doesn't mean that it's going to stop you from trying to create change, to change things. It just means that it's giving you a chance to be kinder to yourself. It's so moving. I read it and I felt like I was reading my own diary. I read it and I felt seen. And there's different sections. The first half is really looking at habits and thought patterns that are kind of like forbidding us to be happy, and ways, the thoughts that we might have that are not allowing us to be content. And then the second half of the book, she gives you kind of little tools and new thoughts pattern that can help you overcome that first part. So this book is totally about shadow work. It is totally going to make you look at ways you are shrinking yourself, you are not valuing yourself, maybe you're running on guilt and shame instead of running on gratitude and self-worth. And this book has rocked me a lot. Some parts were a little bit difficult, but it was very, very beautiful and empowering, and I cannot recommend you enough to read this book because it's really changed the way I look at life. It's really one of the few books that has transformed me, and I've read a lot of those kind of books, and very few manage to speak to me, to make me feel seen, and to help me have a new vision for myself and the world in a way where it doesn't negate the fact that there's a lot of shit happening, and yet we can still within ourselves cultivate a sense of happiness. And of course, if you don't know, I navigate the waves of chronic pain, chronic illness. My health has been very much challenging journey for the last few years, and it's very much dictating my daily life. Still at this point, I'm not able to be like this most of the days. The days I film are the days where I feel able to, and they're very few and spare between still now. Being radically content with your life when you are inherently miscontent with your body or with your ability or with your health or mental health, or maybe for some of you it's your finances, or maybe for some of you it's your love life, maybe for some of you it's your family life or career. We all have our own, right, issues and things. It is a challenge, but I think it's also a revolution towards a more empowered humanity, and also it's a rebellion against the idea that we need to be more, we need to do more, we need to act more, we need to be producing more, always more in order to be worthy. And finding worth within ourselves, I think that's the biggest challenge for me anyway. It's been the biggest challenge, and this book has been very transformative, very healing. Like I said, I loved it so much, I'm actually going to order it on paper form because I want to reread it, I want to take it with me, I want to highlight it, I'm going to gift it to all of my friends. I've already, like, you know, made a note that some of my friends' birthdays are coming, they're getting this book along with their birthday present, because I really think that it's one of those books that can really help you feel seen. It really helped me anyway, so I wanted to mention it because I really enjoyed it this month. Okay, let's move on to TV shows. I have one TV show I want to mention that I thought was super interesting. It's on Netflix and it's called Life After Death, and it follows the life of Tyler Henry, who's a medium, who I think in America must be super famous from the TV show I watched on Netflix. I had never heard of him, so listen, he didn't cross all the ocean and all the continents all the way to where I live. I had never heard of Tyler Henry. I'm sure my American viewers, probably you've seen or heard about him. I had never heard of him, but this TV show follows him as a medium so there's a few episodes, it's like a small series, and we follow him through exploring his life story, as well as doing readings for people through mediumship, so, you know, contact with the dead, which is his specialty. He doesn't use cards really or anything, he just uses his mediumic abilities to get in touch with the deceased of the person in front of him, and then relay the messages. Sometimes they are very difficult. A lot of the time. I cried a lot watching this TV show. Warning, viewers, discretion advised, bring a pack of tissue. It's very emotional because you get to meet a lot of different people, and obviously he's doing readings for a lot of people, and we get to hear a lot of stories about the deceased of those people, like their loved family, etc., who passed, families or friends. And some of those were very loving, and some of those are very harsh and brutal and gut-wrenching. And yet it was fascinating. It's fascinating. I don't know. I've always been a bit of a faithful skeptic, in the sense that I have a lot of faith, but I'm also, there's always a part of me that is skeptical. And so I wasn't truly sure that I believed in this kind of like mediumic contact with the dead, especially because with Tyler Henry it is so quick. Like, at least when you're seeing it on TV, he's getting in contact very, very quickly. And the time I've seen that done before, it took a little bit more time. Maybe some people have more developed abilities, etc. I don't like to say gift, because I feel everyone is gifted. So, you know, there's a bit of part of me that was like, really? Is this really for real? But seeing this show, it was very empowering. The stories are very moving, very healing in a way, and also it's a beautiful story about life and death. I will say, if you are going through a grieving moment right now, it might be a little bit triggering, obviously, because there's a lot of talk about death. You know, he's getting in touch with people who passed, so that is maybe not the kind of TV show you want to watch, but it's just very beautiful to see, mostly for the people's stories, for the humanity of it all, to see that no matter how different people are and what we're all going through in life, we've always lost someone that we loved. And it's part of the human experience, and I think it was very moving to see that. And also I thought it was very interesting to see, I appreciated the fact that even though this was all about, you know, how talented and like amazing Tyler Henry is at what he does, there is a part of him showing his vulnerability and how it's taxing on his body to do those kind of mediumship readings, to get in touch with the dead, to download, to channel, and how it's affecting him, how it's burdening him, how it's tiring him. So I like that it wasn't a glamorized version of connecting with the other side of the veil, because sometimes I feel like some people like to glamorize it, this idea of mediumship or of, you know, connecting with spirit or source or the deceased, whatever you do, whether it's through the cards, through dreams, through actual downloads, whatever. Some people like to romanticize it, to glamorize it. I don't know if glamorize is a word, but we're gonna make it a word now. And I appreciated the TV show for showing the truth, which is it can be exhausting, it can be physically taxing, it can take you days to come out of it, and I felt like that was really good that they showed that, and that they didn't try to make it sound like it's easy reading and channeling in some way or another. It can be tiring, it can really be taxing. So I appreciated the TV show for showing kind of all the sides of. If you've seen it, let me know. Obviously I didn't know Tyler Henry, so I'm glad now I've discovered him, because I thought he was a really beautiful soul and really kind person, and it was a really enjoyable watch. So let me know in the comments if you've seen it. But yeah, that was my favorite TV show of the month. Okay, let's talk about randoms before we move on to YouTube and finally to decks. In the random, something that brought me a lot of joy in the month of May is to kind of really fall back in love with crystals. And actually I loved crystals before I loved tarot. That's kind of how I came into tarot, is through exploring the impact that crystal mining, etc. can have on the ecosystem, on the population. A lot of the mines are, you know, oftentimes using children, and their people are not paid well, and it's not necessarily good for the planet. So nowadays I don't really buy crystals unless it's second-hand, and it's actually, I actually really enjoy finding second-hand crystals, because it's like, we buy second-hand tarot, so why not crystals? There's a lot more than you think there would be. I really fell back in love with crystal this month because I actually received an order that I had made 2 years ago. And those crystals are actually bought from an ethical shop. I don't know if we can call it sustainable, because like I said, I don't think crystal mining is very sustainable, but at least in terms of the population. 2 years ago I had made this order for crystal skulls from this like more fair trade shop, and they took 2 years to come and they arrived in the month of May. You know, the post is crazy where I live. I think this was the actually the contest won. Like, this was number one prize of how long an order took to come to me. I think 2 years beat the record. It was literally shipped to me in May 2020 and I received it in May 2022, almost to the day. And it's really funny because I actually ordered a deck and some crystals in the same time, and those crystals that I got are those really beautiful skulls. I've got 3. I've got one over there that I can't be bothered to go pick up. It's a sodalite skull, I have a carnelian skull, and I have a fluorite skull. So those 3 with a deck took 2 years to come, and they arrived to me on the full moon in Scorpio, which was an amazingly beautiful synchronicity. We were in the midst of Mercury retrograde, eclipse season, and those really beautiful skull pieces decided that this was their moment. They wanted to come to me now. And so they really renewed my love of crystals, because like I said, I don't really purchase them anymore, and I really enjoy using the one I have, obviously. But those ones are very, very powerful, and I enjoy a crystal skull mostly for meditation and for spirit work, like communicating with my ancestors, and doing like past life reading and things like that. I find them to be very powerful. So this is a fluorite one. My ring light is maybe, you know, throwing the ring on it, but you can get a gist. So those took 2 years to come, but they arrived at the perfect time. Like everything, you know, it's not about our timing, it's about divine timing. I really truly believe that, and that was really the case. It was a case of being patient. They arrived at the perfect time when I was having a little bit of a crisis of faith, because the month of May was not easy for me. I had a lot of pain, I was bedbound a lot again, I had some flare-ups and some setbacks with my health, so I spent about 2.5 weeks bedbound, and until I could be seen, etc., by my physio. It was a bit complicated. And whilst I was having this huge crisis of faith, I was like, I need a sign, right? I need a sign that things are gonna get better, or that there's something out there, that I'm not alone in this crazy, complicated and fucked up world. And the next day I received this order that I had completely forgotten about, with my 3 little new friends. So I've not then named them yet. I have meditated with them, I've journaled with them. The sodalite one to do tarot reading with has been very powerful. The fluorite one and the carnelian one right now live on my desk, and I'm very excited to like use them more for meditation, exploration, inspiration. And it was just a really nice synchronicity, and it kind of reignited my love for crystal. It made me pick back up my crystal love, and so I picked back this particular, let me see if I can grab it, notebook that I had, where I write the name of the crystal I have, and then I will do some research. I read some books, I read some forums, etc. I read a lot about that particular crystal, and then I'll do a summary for myself for each crystal, like from reading what they say and also me meditating with the crystal. I'll write a couple of keywords, and then I'll write like properties and how it feels to me, etc. And then I will write some affirmations for each of the crystal that I download myself from holding the crystal, spending time with it and meditating on it. And so I've kind of done that, picked that back up to write. You can see some pages are blank because there's a couple of crystals I have that I've not like done. This is a project that I started 3 years ago, and I had left on the side, and I'm proud of myself for picking it back up, because I'm an Aries and I have the tendency, like most Aries, I think all of you Aries watching, you can potentially relate to that. We are very good at starting things, we're not very good at finishing them. And so I had started to go through my crystals and write the properties and write the affirmation and everything, and then I got halfway through and I got bored and I didn't finish it, just put it on the side. And now 3 years later, for me to pick it back up and start again, I am so proud of myself. It might seem like not that much, but to me it's like a huge step in being better at finishing what I have started. And so I'm excited to continue. I'm excited to get acquainted even more with my little friends. and I'm excited for my new love of crystals. Again, I'm not gonna buy any more of them. I'm just enjoying the one I have, the one I've been gifted, but they're just like, they're still really part of my practice. They're still really part of my meditation practice, especially. I wear them every day. I have different bracelets that I wear that I made myself. They're just a really strong part of my life, I guess, so I can't see myself not using them. It's just I'm a lot more mindful about where I get them from. Okay, really quickly, quick mention about my favorite video game of the month. Like I said, I was bedbound quite a lot of the month of May. I had a little bit of time to read, to play with a lot of decks, and also to play some video games, and I was really wanting something easy, sweet, not violent or anything like that, just something that was going to take my mind off the pain and the flare-up, etc. I was experiencing. And so I found this beautiful little indie game called A Short Hike. I play it on the Switch. If you don't know all of the video games I mentioned on my favorites, I play them on the Switch Lite because it's really easy, it's portable, and that's what I have. And so A Short Hike is a game, some of you had recommended it to me in my comments, so thank you so much. It's an indie game and it's a beautiful little game, a few hours. I think you can be done in a couple of days, honestly. So it's short and sweet. You embody this little bird character who's taken with their aunt to this beautiful park, like a nature park. So you are expecting this phone call. You don't know what it is, but you're expecting this phone call and you're told the only place on the island that has a signal is on the top of the mountain, so you have to take a short hike. And so whilst you're going through this hike and you're hiking through this national park as this little bird, you encounter people, you meet people, you have little quests. It's just very sweet, very nice, not stressful, just very like healing and, you know, like very like inner child vibes. Very relaxing and chill, and the ending actually was very sweet and moving, and I didn't expect it at all, but it really made my heart melt. So I really recommend A Short Hike if you're looking for a short sweet game, and honestly one of those that I think I could replay in a few months because it was a really enjoyable experience. So YouTube videos, I have a couple of mention. One of my favorite things on YouTube this month was the hashtag that was created by Candy. Candy Soil and Soil. I leave the name of her channel below. She did the hashtag my top 10 in our cabinet of curiosity, and a lot of people are with VRs. I've did one, so I'll put the card somewhere, and it's just been super fun to see people weird decks. I love weird decks, I love weird things. I'm not a huge fan of creepy things. I like cute and creepy, but I just love unique decks, like the ones that you don't really see a lot, that are strange, that are doing their own thing. So I loved seeing what people put in their cabinet of curiosity. It's so much fun because we all have different things, we all think different things are weird, and that's what makes this world wonderful, because everyone is different. And also it's fun to see objects as well. Some people are showing, I have showed some objects that I would put in mine, other people have done that as well, and it's just really fun. You get to get a glimpse into people's psyche, and it's just a really fun tag, so I enjoyed that. I also really loved in the month of May the workshop that my lovely friend over at The Curated Shelf did for us. So if you don't follow The Curated Shelf on YouTube, you should. What are you doing? Again, I'll leave the link to her channel below. Neha is awesome. She's a lovely person. She's kind and considerate and very knowledgeable, so I highly recommend you follow her on YouTube, on Instagram, etc. She actually did this free workshop on YouTube that we could follow along for the moon cycle of Taurus, and kind of like this suggestion of tarot activities that we could do every week with her. Again, just watching her videos and then doing it on our own time, following the moon cycle, as well as little prompts, little exercises around abundance, around stability, security, all the themes of the Taurus sign and the moon sign in Taurus. And I thought it was super generous of her offer that for us for free and to create this little workshop. So it was really interesting. There was lots of little exercise there and journaling prompts and stuff that she shared with us. So in the deck section, I'm much more versed in astrology than I am, because I felt like I learned some cool things as well. Another thing I really enjoyed is to start doing readings again. I had done a little bit of a break from offering pick a card readings on my channel, tarot readings, etc., because I wasn't feeling, and honestly I wasn't feeling like physically well enough to do them. They are quite tiring, they demand a lot of energy, and when I'm going through a flare-up or I'm not feeling so well, I just can't physically do them. Like, it takes too much out of me. I don't have enough spoons. But I did manage to film a couple of readings in the month of May. I filmed the June reading, so if you haven't seen that, again, I'll link the link somewhere up there. I did a June pick a card, so that was really fun. So you can check that out. I also did one around your current life lesson. So what life lesson are you currently going through and how you're moving on from that? And that was a super powerful reading. I was very moved, almost like very emotional doing the reading, but it felt like a lot came through, and I had some really beautiful comments as well from people who watched that, so I feel like I wasn't the only one who did that reading. You know, sometimes you do the reading, some of those messages are for you as well. That was very much the case, but a lot of you felt like very seen by that reading as well, so it was really a joy. I'll put again the link somewhere if you haven't watched that out. It's a timeless reading, so you can watch it anytime you're watching this video, but I really enjoy being able to do pick a card readings and have readings on my channel. It makes me so happy. It fills my cup so much to be able to offer that as kind of a gift to my community. For me, it really truly fills my cup. It's just dependent on how well I'm feeling, so I can be able to do them or not. Okay, last mention on YouTube channel, I really want to shout out because I've been really enjoying their videos. Jenny from the channel A Year and a Day. I have been absolutely adoring the videos that Jenny's put out. They are beautifully edited, they are charming, everything we love about TarotTube. So Jenny shares her favorite tarot, she does walkthroughs, she does monthly favorites, but they're just really well edited and we get a glimpse into her life. I believe Jenny is Dutch, I think. I'm sorry, Jenny, if I got that wrong. I think you are. And so sometimes she takes us with us on her adventures, where she lives, and she's just a joy to watch. I really have been enjoying her videos, and I wanted to shout her out. If you've not checked out her channel out, definitely do. And I really had a great time watching her videos and getting to know her through her content. Okay, let's talk about tarot and oracle decks. This is it, we're here. This is the category everyone is waiting for, myself included, my favorite category. I'm gonna mix everything, tarot, oracle. I can't be bothered to split them up, and I've kind of used them combined, so it makes sense to talk about all of them together. Let's start with what I used for my daily draws. I don't really do daily draws on a regular basis. I'm kind of like, sometimes I do them, sometimes I don't. Some months I enjoy them, some months I don't. If I do a daily draw with tarot, I usually do it at night. So I wait for the day to be over and do it at night, because I like to kind of reflect on what's happened and look at the card I pull at night to kind of help me get another perspective of the day. Or I will pull the card before I go to bed for the next day, then I go to sleep, and I don't look at it until that evening, so that I don't get stressed out by the card I pull for that day. Because I've tried pulling daily cards of tarot in the morning and live my day, and honestly, I know it's ridiculous, but I am that person that if I draw the Three of Swords, for example, or the Tower, and I'm already feeling slightly flared up and like my chronic pain is kicking up and I don't feel well, it's not going to help me to pull the Tower that morning and have to go through a whole Tower day knowing it's a Tower day, feeling more worse about it and thinking about it. You know, it's just not helpful. For me, you do you, obviously, but that's just never worked for me and my mental health personally. What works for me really well, like I said, is to pull it the day before so I can forget about it and look at it at night, or I pull it at night once I'm ready to go to bed after the events. And most often I'm surprised, because maybe I've had a shit day and I will worry that I don't really do daily draws for tarot, but I enjoy them with oracle. Some months I do them, some months I don't. But the month of May I did, and I used Wisdom for Healing cards by Caroline, Potatoes, I don't know. This one. You might know this creator. I think she did the archetype cards that have been out for a while. This one is less known from her, but I love it. I really love it. It's all, as you can tell from the title, Wisdom for Healing cards. It's all about healing, and so I've been pulling a card a day in the month of May. There's not really front or back. It's one of those where you have an image on one side and on the other side you have the messages. Some people don't like that, but for me, especially for things like daily draws or little messages, I love that because it's like, it's all there and my lazy ass doesn't have to go into the guidebook and I appreciate that. So you get the message here, you get a beautiful illustration. I love the artist. Who did the art on this? Janice Fried. Janice, you did a great job. I love this, very healing. Feels like, I might be wrong, but that's what it feels like. And so the image and the keywords here are beautiful. And of course in the back, you get today's lesson. So for example, if I pull one by random, so for example, let's see, this is observe your attitude. I'll try and put a better image somewhere. And it says today's lesson, determine whether you spend most of your energy in a positive or negative frame of mind. Do you have to remind yourself to be positive, or are you naturally that way? Your goal, to become mindful of whether you're unconsciously positive or negative. And so every card has today's lesson and your goal for the day. And so for me personally, to pull a card a day, it was wonderful. So there are some things that are very lovey-dovey, and there are some things that are a little bit more, you know, they're gonna poke at you a little bit, make you see where maybe you've not been the best version of yourself or for others. So I really enjoy this deck. It's quick, it's short, it's sweet, it's a nice guide, it's a nice anchor for the day. The artwork is beautiful, making me think about the Dreaming Way a little bit. That particular style of artwork. I don't know if you know the Dreaming Way Tarot, but just now looking at it, I'm like, I should try pairing those because I feel like they would look really cute. So just like a last minute inspiration. Another oracle I really enjoyed in the month of May is the Modern Goddess Oracle by Ethony. I'm sure we all know who Ethony is. If you don't, she's very prolific in the tarot tube world. She has created many a deck, some of them that I own. One of them is this one, the other one is the Modern Love Tarot. Fantastic. I don't have her other ones, but from those two I can say that, you know, Ethony puts a lot of effort and love and attention into what she creates. I backed this when she released the pre-order. And this is a Modern Goddess deck, as the name suggests. So really chunky, really great guidebook. Full color, I don't really care about that. What I care about is that for each goddess we have keywords, we have symbols, we have an affirmation, we have information on who the goddess is. And then what I love about this deck is that you have two sides. You have a side for if you're reading the card as an upright and another one as a shadow. And that is wonderful because it's giving you two ways to work with the goddess. One is around working with the goddess and one is around healing with the goddess, and they are so powerful to see both sides of each goddess, the light side and the dark side. And so that's what for me makes this deck very unique, is that you have two sides of each goddess and you really see that. And of course, like, why this deck is also super cool is the fact that this being the Modern Goddess Oracle, the goddesses are depicted in a modern way. So they're wearing modern clothes, they are looking like badass women that you could see walking in the street, just, you know, a lot more powerful and with superpowers. But it's colorful, it's bright, it is joyful, it's very badass. It's that kind of very badass energy that Ethony puts in a lot of her decks. It's just wonderful. I love this deck. Another thing that I really enjoy is the fact that they are added archetypes cards. I can't remember how many there are, I think at least 10 of like general archetypes that you can either mix in or keep separate. Things like the actress or the fairy or the crone, maiden, mother, crone, and I mix mine all in. And so here you can find a way to work with both goddess energy and archetype energy, and I find that wonderful. I think there's definitely goddesses here from all corners of the world, so you can learn a lot more about mythology. I wouldn't say that there's a ton about that goddess on the guidebook, so of course, personally, because I like to do my research, and I'm a bit of a nerd like that when it comes to things like that, if I don't know who that particular goddess that I picked, I would go further than the guidebook and then do my own research and go on Google, maybe even find some books or something to study that goddess more. But it's definitely a good starting point, and as an oracle, it's really well constructed because of that duality kind of reading, where you can read it as if you want to work with the goddess, or if it's kind of more a shadow work kind of type of reading where you want to heal with the goddess. It was a great friend for the month of May. I enjoyed dipping back into it. So as I mentioned in my YouTube faves for the month, I was following along the Curated Shelf workshop that she offered for the Moon in Taurus kind of cycle, and we were invited to use 2 different tarot decks with that one, and then I paired my own oracle deck as well with it. So the 2 decks I enjoyed kind of dipping back into, and they are not for nothing. Like, there's a reason why I chose those 2 decks to kind of follow along Niha's workshop. We have the Druidcraft Tarot deck and the Lua Tarot. So this is mass market, this is indie, this is by Marie Bento, you can find it on her website, I'll leave the link below. And this is the Druidcraft Tarot mass market. I have the version that is unfortunately in the tiny box with a little book. These 2 decks were part of my forgotten deck. I'll leave the link again somewhere in the cards. I did a video that's supposed to show decks we forgot we had, that we still enjoy, but we just put in the back of our shelf and forgot about it for some reason or another. And those 2 were part of that. And so this is why I decided after filming that to use those 2 decks to follow along the prompts and exercises that the Curated Shelf offered. Also, they felt really good Taurus deck, and because the theme of those videos were all about tarot prompts and stuff around Taurus season, I felt like it was appropriate to use what I felt like were earthy decks. So the Druidcraft Tarot, it feels very earthy to me. I mean, look, it's all about druids, it's all about Welsh mythology, and it's a beautiful deck. It's a favorite deck for many people. I know for a lot of people it was their first deck. I need to trim my copy because it's slightly too large that I'm not enjoying shuffling it, and I think this might have been one of the reasons I put that deck on the side, because I love it. I think the court card is so expressive. I think that it's as an RWS clone-ish that does its own thing. It's beautiful. If you're looking for something that feels very pagan and very connected to the earth, and especially if you come from the British Isles, I feel like this would be perfect for you if you're looking for that connection. I think it's a gorgeous deck. It's really great reader, and I really enjoyed using it again in the month of May, rediscovering it, because when I first got it I used it a ton, and then I just put it on the side one day, and I don't know why I left it on the side, but it's a great reader. It is very emotive. The characters are really, the facial expressions I think are what I prefer the most about the deck, as well as obviously the very beautiful nature druid kind of feel. Court cards in these decks in this particular deck are so well done. It's really, they are so emotive, and they give you different personality traits and stuff that makes, I think, court cards feel a little bit more easy to understand. And so this one, I'm glad I found it again. I'm glad that I've rediscovered it in my shelves. Like I mentioned, the other deck I used along for this kind of Taurus moon exploration was the Lua Tarot by Marie Bento. This is an indie deck. This is a black and white deck that reuses 19th century engravings, and it's indie deck, like the quality is very beautiful. It has a great guidebook. This one, the worst thing is that I even forgot it from my forgotten decks. So this was truly a forgotten deck that even in my forgotten decks I forgot to include it. But we discovered it in the month of May. It was actually stuck behind my shelf, so I couldn't actually access it. It just had fallen behind some of my drawers, and so that's why I had forgotten about it, because it had disappeared. I believe the tarot gremlins were trying to play with it. So I used it for those, you know, those like prompts and stuff that were shared. Despite the fact that it's black and white, I find it very emotive. It's a really great reader. What originally drew me to this deck, like when I first got it 3 years ago, I think, or 2 years ago, I can't remember, was that for something that was reusing 19th century engraving, there actually was some different representation. It wasn't all white people there. There was some different ethnicity represented. However, after using the deck and watching reviews, etc., I have been more aware that there are some cards that are problematic. The main one I remember people talking about, and I just want you to know, so that we can learn and we can find out about those things together. The Six of Wands, but it's actually representing someone who is colonizing. So there's an itch from my white person bias. I can totally admit I hadn't seen originally when I looked at this deck. So it's important that it's mentioned. A lot of cards are beautiful for a deck that uses, you know, older paintings, etc. There is more representation of different kind of people than some of them where it's just white people, but it's still an issue, obviously, that there are cards that are problematic, and it's just a case of knowing, right? So now you know, you can be more aware, like I am being more aware. But I did really enjoy using it for myself this month. It was very good reader. It was really good to use for those particular workshops for myself. It's just that now I'm more aware of what some of the subtext can be, and I think that's important. I think it's part of learning and expanding your mind. And I think the key is to be willing to not know everything and to listen to other people. One oracle deck I really enjoyed pairing with those two was the Illuminated Earth Oracle by Claire Mack. I've had this deck for a couple of years. I backed her recent deck at the same time as this one, the Faceted Garden and this one. And I had been using the Faceted Garden Oracle or other deck a lot more than this, but this, I don't know, it felt again very Taurus energy, and so I decided it didn't come edge. And so it was nice to re-fall back in love with this deck because I hadn't been using it for a while, but it's one of those that you can just pull a card or two or three, you can use on its own or you can use with tarot. You can do big spreads or just clarification. It's like a very much a Swiss knife, this type of deck. It stands really well on its own if you want to do a spread with it. Sometimes I have people in my comment section saying, which one do you prefer, the Faceted Garden or the Illuminated Earth? And honestly, I can't decide. I love them both for a different reason. The Faceted Garden I use in a very specific way for healing, etc., which I need to do a video about actually. So that's a story for another day. But this one, it's more for me multitasker. Maybe when I pair with more of different type of decks, that it's very much one that you can use for everything and everyone. And so I think this one is definitely a good addition if you're looking for a good for everything kind of oracle. But like I said, I did a lot of shadow work in the month of May, and I didn't really use a lot of tarot decks to do shadow work. I journaled a lot. I used a lot of more journaling prompts, therapy of course, which is something I always recommend when people are like, how should I start shadow work? Going to a therapist can be a really great place to start. As a way to, once I've had uncovered like the shadow parts that I was trying to work through, for the integration part, so for the part around forgiving and loving and accepting and bringing it to light, a deck that I really enjoyed using in the month of May, that I enjoy using every time I need a hug from the universe, to be honest, is the Gift of Life Tarot. I love this deck. This was one of my favorite decks from last year. It's a photography deck. The person who created this is a worldwide photographer, and she used images that she had taken from all over the world, and during the pandemic decided to create this deck from pictures that she had from her travels. Part of the proceeds go to a charity. This is indie, so I'll put the link to her website below. It is a very gorgeous, very healing and very moving deck, showcasing different people doing things in different parts of the world. But I feel like the pictures that were chosen by Alice speak so well to the tarot archetypes, to the point where sometimes just looking at that image, it triggers very deep feelings in me. It feels very emotional. It feels very poignant, because this is like, when we say tarot is about life, this deck shows that there is tarot in every part of life, and that every part of life can be linked back to tarot. Our experiences, our emotions, our griefs, our joys, tribulations, and everything we go through, tarot can link back to that. And this, for me, this deck truly shows how daily life can be linked to tarot, and how it can be shown as part of our humanity. So this feels like humanity's history. This feels like humanity's keys in one's hands, and it's so moving, it's so emotional, this deck. I love it very much, and it's very, I can't explain it, but every time I use it I get this very profound like emotional reaction. So I had to bring it out in the month of May to help me kind of like soothe the shadow work. And the guidebook is fantastic, and I don't know why I didn't mention this guidebook in my favorite guidebooks video, because it is truly amazing, and I'm gonna do a part 2 of my favorite guidebooks, and this is gonna be part of it because it's really well written. For each card, Alice explains where she took it, the story behind it, who the people are. I love that because it allows us to connect with the images. And because this is called the gift of life, every card also gives you a life purpose reading, because that's kind of like the idea of this deck, is to tell you what is your gift of life, like what is your life purpose, your life mission. I don't believe in life missions for life, but I believe in life purpose, like right now. Like maybe right now I have a life purpose that can evolve and change along the way. So do you. I don't believe there's one like for life, because I believe we're very fluid beings. But I do believe in life purposes changing along with us, evolving with us. And so in the guidebook, there are for each card a little message that is very dedicated along what is your gift right now, the gift that you give to life right now. And I love that. If you're having a hard time, this is going to make you feel better. It's going to make you look at how you know, even if you're going through a difficult time, you still have gifts to give to the world. You still have something special, unique and beautiful about you that you can share, that makes you beautiful and worthy. And so this is just joy. So our deck, I enjoyed for a very particular use, the Starchild Tarot French edition. I had talked about this in a deck haul. This is a French edition, mass market edition of the Starchild Tarot, which is normally an indie. In English it's indie and quite expensive, but a French publisher, Arcana Sacra, released it mass market, so it's cheaper. I think it's like less than 30 euros. You get a big box, you get a nice book, all in French, and you get the deck. And I was gifted this, wasn't sure that it was going to be for me, because I had wanted the Moonchild, but I wasn't sure the Starchild was for me. And when I tried reading with it, it felt very flat. I couldn't connect doing normal readings to the imagery. It felt too cosmic, too distant. I felt like I couldn't get in. I felt like I was met with a little bit of resistance from this deck when I first tried to use it, until I decided to use it for meditation and path walking. And so I would be pulling some card, 1 or 2, and then meditate and project myself in the card, and then think about what am I seeing, what am I hearing, where am I going, what's around me, you know, path walking. And it was a beautiful experience and a beautiful deck for that. So I've given up trying to do normal readings with this, because it just doesn't want to work with me in that way. But for path working, projecting, meditating, and projecting myself in the card, it is wonderful. And I did that at night before going to bed, and then I would write down what I would see or hear or smell, etc. And it was a wonderful experience. And so that's the way I found that I could work with the Starchild. I've made it mine in some way, and it works for me for that. And there are a few decks that I use for path working. You can use any deck, honestly, but you have to feel it. And so with this one I felt it. I felt that specific connection, and I think that's how I could access those more cosmic vibes, which normally are not really my thing. I'm a very grounded person. I'm not really into the star seed and stuff. No judgment if that's your thing, obviously. We just all have different things that we resonate with. That was never really my thing, the star seed and cosmic seed and all of that. I'm more of a grounded person, you know, grounded baby. I like my feet on the earth, or in the ocean, or in the river, or in the mountain, but I like earth. Very quick mention. 2 decks I enjoyed in the month of May, when I was feeling really low and when I couldn't really move. A deck, a combo that always gives me life, that is always there for me to help me, you know, give me the life juice I need. We have 2 of my favorite decks ever. The Stunning Tarot by Yona Sayas. I have the first edition. This is in my top 3 favorite decks of all time. I love this tarot deck so much. I feel like I could never be without it. There's something about the limited color palette, about the different mythologies, different fantasy world. It just speaks to my soul, and it always like makes me feel better using this deck. So I use it constantly, but in the month of May I was again reminded of how much of a great friend this can be. More than a friend, it's like a, this is more of a guide maybe. Yeah, I feel like this is more of a guide than a friend, this one, for me. And one of my favorite oracle decks of all time, the Begin Oracle. This is an indie deck. I talk about those two decks all the time, so I don't want to go on and on about it. But this is by Little Magic Herbal Shop. On Etsy you can find it. I'll put both of the links of the websites of those creators below. But the Begin Oracle is collage style deck. It's beautiful. It goes with everything. It comes with a gorgeous guidebook that gives me everything I need. It gives me the life juice I need. I've done readings for others with this, pulled some cards for my friends with this month, and it was always on point, everything they needed to hear. It was just so healing, so beautiful. So when in doubt, I know that those two are like my, you know, when you have like a medical set for like emergencies, this is my tarot emergency set. Maybe I should do a video about that. That's probably been done already, I don't know. Has it been done already? Let me know in the comments. You know, if it's not been done, I'll do that. My emergency set for tarot for times of crisis. This is definitely, those two is part of it, because I can't be without them, and they always like make me feel better. Finally, last deck. I'm a bit tired. I've been talking for an hour, so let's wrap it up. We have the Zombie Tarot. So, like I said, about 2.5 weeks of May, I was very ill and I felt like dead inside, and so I was like, what deck can I use apart from obviously the Stunning Tarot, the Begin Oracle that I just mentioned. I was like, what can I use that's gonna make me feel seen? And you know what? It was the Zombie Tarot. Because the Zombie Tarot is full of humor. It's dark and twisted and clever and unique and weird and strange, and it is so smart. But at the same time, it doesn't take itself seriously, and it was everything I needed to help me get through this slow phase, because it helped me to not take my situation too seriously, to remind myself that better times are coming, to remind myself to laugh and to take things lightly, and that it was funny to use something full of zombies when I was feeling so dead inside. It was like accurate. So I love this deck, and it's so clever, and this is great for shadow work. This is great for every kind of reading. For relationship reading, this is gonna show you where you are truly mistaken, or where they are truly mistaken, what you're not seeing, the power kind of like dynamic and everything. This will show it between the zombies and you humans. This can be an allegory for your shadow self and your, you know, personal self. It can be this can be used for so many things, but mostly it just doesn't take itself too seriously, and yet it's a wonderful reader, and I love that about it. I love that it could feel gimmicky. A lot of people are using it for Halloween, and I've heard some people say, oh, it's a bit gimmicky. It's not. It's actually not. When you start looking at all the images, you realize how cleverly it's done. It's set in this zombie world, yes. It's like collage, strange 60s style, yes. But the dynamic between the zombies and the humans are so interesting, because we see the humans trying to fight the zombies first, then escape them, and then finally try to cohabit with them and find some kind of a strange harmony where they use the zombies as pets or as protectors or even sometimes as lovers. And a lot of it is effed up because they used to be humans, right? But now they want to eat you. And this strange dynamic makes for very powerful reading, and I think it needs to be taken more seriously because it definitely packs a punch if you're willing to give it a shot. The box is super fun, like look, it has bullets, and the guidebook is really cool. It follows this idea of 60s vibe, so it has coupons for meals and stuff. It's just, everything is so well done. So this is it. These were all of my May favorites. That was a lot. Thank you so much if you're still here. If you are still here, then leave me a little zombie emoji in the comments down below. You can leave me one of the zombies. I think there's a few. It will let me know you've made it this far, and I will really appreciate it. I hope you had a nice month of May. I hope the month of June is treating you well. I hope you're being kind to yourself. And in the meantime, I just want to say thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you. I'm sending you so much good vibes, and keep navigating the waves of your soul. Bye!